And then we went over to my wife's parents' house. Anna, did you like that movie? So he was trying to see, yeah, if somebody would slip up.
You have a good thing going, so I'm asking questions.
Shut your mouth. Because when you find out you get half of what you normally get, it's.
Yeah. Okay, they all have to come in here. Go for it. I don't want to be in the. Happy New Year to you. Hi.
Okay, you ready for the unwieldy chairs, Paul? Yeah. The unwieldy chairs that can never get around. Here we go.
Yeah. The tip, that's my only concern.
Only if you push back hard.
Don't lean back?
Yeah.
Sorry. Here's the things. But you said these two have to do with the manager thing, so just three counselors sign it because that's the one. I wasn't expecting.
Three counselors.
Yeah.
As soon as they lift
I
up.
hate these chairs. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm a
okay,
short person, I
okay.
don't have to worry
Begin
about
at 4:30 with governance, so you're actually chairing your committee.
I'm chairing the committee.
But don't we have?
We have the organizational.
Organizational, first I gotta be put as the chair.
That's a good point.
Mayor,
These chairs came over on the Mayflower.
Okay. Do we do that now, or do we wait for the public meeting?
Is this what we agreed to last year?
Doesn't look like anything else than we usually do.
When are you bringing that up?
We don't have to. We just have to have three signatures.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's exactly what we agreed to, right? Okay.
Let's begin then with the organizational meeting to get this new council, new year, new decade going.
So we all agreed.
Begin with the roll call.
Mayor Reed,
Present.
Counselor Barbell,
Present.
Counselor Kelly,
Here?
Counselor Gibb,
Here.
Counselor DeDominicis,
Here.
Counselor McFarland,
So we already approved
Counselor Moore?
this at the last council. So this is just.
So I'd like to entertain nominations from the floor for the position of Mayor Pro Tem.
I would nominate, oh, are you gonna do it?
I'd like to nominate Mike Kelly.
Okay, I'll second that nomination.
Second by Councilor Gibbs. Discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Barbell,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibb,
Yes.
Counselor DeDominicis,
Yes.
Counselor McFarland, oops, sorry.
Right under
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
And next, I'd like to entertain nominations from the floor for the position of clerk of the Common Council. And I'd like to, and I've had some discussion with a potential candidate for clerk of the Common Council on augmenting those duties somewhat to allow us to maintain order through public hearings and that sort of stuff. And she's amenable to that, kind of a partial sergeant-at-arms kind of function as well. So if there's any nominations from Councilor Kelly?
I'd like to nominate Elizabeth Gibbs, our current
I'll second.
clerk.
Second by Councilor Barbell. Any discussion? Any other nominations? Should have asked before, but usually aren't, so. Roll call.
Counselor Barbell,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibb,
Yes.
Counselor DeDominicis,
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
And we have our composition of council and department liaison committees to do tonight, and pretty much the same as you've seen in the previous year, with some openings that people have departed, and we brought in new councilors to fill those openings. And I'd like to announce my appointments, if I can find my sheet of paper. Beginning with governance strategy and city operations, Chair Councilor Barbell, and second member Councilor Dominicus. City infrastructure, Chair Councilor Moore, and member Councilor Gibbs. Finance and budget, Chair Councilor Kelly, and member Councilor Moore. Public safety, Chair Councilor Gibbs, and member Councilor Barbell. Public Library, Chair, Councilor D. Dominicus, and Member, Councilor McFarland, and MLD Board President, Councilor McFarland. I'd like to add a second member in case of absence. We've not usually had coverage for that second member, but appoint Councilor Kelly as the second member to MLD. And as you know, each of these committees meets once a month. The MLD committee meets every month. There's a fifth Thursday, so they meet only 4 times a year, coincident with the meetings of the MLD board of that same date. And the liaison to the library meets whenever library schedules their meetings.
You could do a motion to waive the reading, enter the nominations as set forth by the mayor, and then move the resolution.
Mayor, we may have found a slight error here with the city infrastructure committee. Under that, it mentions planning and community development, but that's under the governance strategy and city operations.
It is, but they actually split. They do sometimes report to that committee as well when they're dealing with grant writing and infrastructure kind of duties.
okay.
But typically, most of it is on governance, you're right.
Okay, okay.
So are you comfortable leaving?
So community development then, we'll
So-
answer to both committees?
Yeah, so what aspect of community development would fall under infrastructure, just to be clear?
When they participate in grant writing to put projects in place that have an infrastructure component.
Okay,
Such as Mr. Ruff's work, would that be an example? Okay.
The trails, the Empire Trail, stuff like that.
Okay.
Saranac River Trail. These are things that have infrastructure components, but also grant writing components, so they sort of play a dual role there.
Okay.
thank you.
Any other questions? Would, I guess we need a motion to waive the reading.
I'll make a motion to waive the reading and move the resolution.
Enter nominations set forth by the mayor.
I'm sorry?
You have to enter the nominations set forth by the mayor.
Oh, do I have to name them?
No.
Oh, then I'll make a motion to advance the names for the committees as set forth by the mayor.
Seconded by
I'll second.
Councilor Barbell. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Barbell?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor D. Dominicus?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Next item is to renew the corporate council. This time I'd like to recognize that Dean Schneller is serving the 4th year of his 4-year appointment as corporation council for the period February 1, 2020 through January 31st, 2021. And said previous appointments is hereby confirmed. Roll call?
Counselor Barbell?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor D. Dominicus?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Next is the appointment of the fair housing officer. Somebody like to make that motion and waive the reading presumably?
I'll make that motion.
Councilor McFarland, second by Councilor Kelly. Any discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Barbell?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor D. Dominicus?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yeah.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Next is to fix the dates for our meetings throughout the year, and there's a sheet at the end of your packet for all those meetings. Note that we meet weekly except for the last scheduled meeting of the year. It's usually around the holiday time and offices are often closed then, so we skip that one meeting. The other meetings that are adjusted from a regular Thursday schedule is if there's a holiday on Thursday or Friday, or actually Wednesday technically, because we need to have one business day opportunity for any local laws to be passed, that to be filed with the state. So some meetings have been adjusted upwards in the week to accommodate that and to be able to complete the payroll. So do I have a motion to waive that complete reading and pass this?
I'll make-
Councilor Gibbs and second by Councilor Moore. Any discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Barbell?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor DeDominicis?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Next item is to declare the Press Republican as the official newspaper of the city of Plattsburgh. Motion to, resolution to state that and to waive the reading.
So moved.
Counselor Barbell, and second by Counselor Kelly. Discussion? You may ask if these could be rotated amongst other newspapers. There is a state law that requires it to be, I think, a daily newspaper, so it's Press Republican for why that's true. Roll call?
Counselor Barbell?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor DeDominicis?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Next item is to designate Glens Falls National Bank as the official depository for the city of Plattsburgh. And please note, as always, I recuse myself from any discussion with regard to the bank because of the conflict of interest.
I do see, it says Margaret Street branch. It's my understanding that there is no Margaret Street
So I
branch.
should amend that to the Turkey Street branch?
I'll make a motion to amend that to Durkee Street branch then.
I'll second that.
Councilor McFarland, second by Councilor Gibbs. Any further discussion?
I think we would have to vote on the amendment, right?
Okay, all in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. And please note this decision was vetted through the appropriate committee, and they actually had RFPs from all the various depository institutions that chose to respond.
Yeah, we voted on it a few weeks back.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Well, did they do a first and second on the resolution? That was on the amendment.
I'll do a motion to put forth the resolution and waive a reading.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilor McFarland, second by Councilor Barbell. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Barbell?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor DeDominicis?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Next item is a proposed resolution adopting the investment policy for the upcoming year, unless otherwise amended. I guess this is short enough to just read it. Resolved, the investment policy is recommended by the state of Office of the State Comptroller, establishing guidelines which comply with applicable state statutes and is adopted at the regular meeting of the Common Council held December 10th, 1987, and be the same as to continue in effect for the period of January 1, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. Moved by Councilor Gibbs, second by Councilor Kelly. Discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Barbell?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor DeDominicis?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Next item is our rules for conducting our meetings through the upcoming year.
I'd
I
like to,
think that there's almost no changes in it, except that we have a change of adopting a sign-in sheet. Makes it easier for us to record in the minutes who spoke, and optionally to actually provide their address or organization they represent as well. But otherwise, I believe there's no other changes in the organizational rules. Have a motion to, if you desire, to waive the reading, official reading, and move to adoption. Moved by
I'll make that
Councilor
motion.
Gibbs, second by Councilor Kelly. All in favor of waiving the reading?
aye.
Opposed? Discussion on the organizational rules themselves.
I have a question on number 13. It said that public comment is on, when a public comment topic is voted on by the council, topic should not be the subject of public comment for 6 months after that date. And I'm trying to understand exactly what does that mean? It's
What
like,
rule are you talking about? I'm sorry.
Number 13.
Number 13?
Under 15,
Oh.
15-13.
Anybody know the history of that? It's one of those things that's always been here, but we've never had that question, so. Dean, would
I
you
don't
know?
recall the history now.
Because I was thinking if we had another conversation with if realtors came in and had, could they not have a conversation with us about the realtor situation? Or I don't know exactly how that plays out. It seems to shut off, you know, the ability to have a conversation with somebody if you took a vote on something already.
Well, as long as there's no litigation involved, I think it's safe to say you can talk about just about anything. So
That was what I
think in that
Think that
case, the
it's-
realtor, as you know, you gave the example, the realtor could come in and speak to us on his or her thoughts on anything, but specifically
It would
about.
be a violation of this statement, wouldn't it? If we would not be taking any public comment for 6 months after you voted on an issue.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
I'd make a motion to adopt all but section 13 on this issue, and we can come back and talk about that later if Dean or whatever says there's a rationale that's underneath this that we don't have right now. And so I would make that motion.
So that'd be an amendment to strike.
Strike
Strike 13 from the,
13
yeah.
and pass it the rest of the rules for the meeting.
Because certainly, at each council meeting, we emphasize that at the end of the council meeting, members of the public can come and talk about anything.
Right, yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Any further discussion on that amendment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Any other discussion on other aspects? Seeing none, roll call?
Counselor Barbell?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor DeDominicis?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Next item is our undertaking, bond, undertaking for city employees at $250,000 for City Chamberlain at $500,000. A motion to waive the reading, Councilor Kelly,
Second.
second by Councilor Barbell. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? On the item itself, discussion. Roll call?
Counselor Barbell?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor DeDominicis?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
And our last item is the rules with regard to the periodic committee of the Common Council. For you new councilors, there's an expectation that you review the audit materials each year provided, each session provided by the Chamberlain, and sign those and then pass them on. So I have a motion to waive the reading and move this to resolution. Moved by Councilor Moore, second by Councilor Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? On the item itself, any further discussion?
Pre-audit committee is a fluid committee. It changes from week to week as we review these stacks of bills.
Well, I guess that's the question I have, because it also changes, it's not always the same 3 people for everything that's signed. Sometimes, it's not a set committee of 3 people each week. I always audit the MLD bills, and Jeff usually audits because the infrastructure committee chair, the public works bills. But I think as far as payroll, it's always 3 people, so. I don't have a problem with it, I'm just noticing it.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Barbell?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor DeDominicis?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yeah.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
And then, if there's no other items, is there a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councilor McFarland, second by Councilor Gibbs. Roll call.
Counselor Barbell?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor DeDominicis?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Can I hit this? I'd like to call to order the Governance Strategy and City Operations Committee.
We should wait till 5 because it's 4:48.
Oh, okay.
We should wait till 5 just because it doesn't start
Oh,
till 5.
okay.
Unless we could have a work session or
Sure.
recess.
So let's have a work session then, with, gives us an opportunity to have extended discussion and converse with department heads as necessary for any items on the agenda itself. And if there's any time left after your governance committee, we
Sure.
go back into the work session.
Okay.
That works. So you may not have very many items for the work session tonight because the agenda is relatively brief tonight as well for our first meeting.
It's just basically the same thing.
Can we start this conversation on?
And this work session is very informal too. so-
Yeah, okay, well, I had a question on with the Architectural and Engineering Design Associates. There's a section in their statement that there's a set of conditions that they will not be addressing as part of this work to move
Yes, in the contract, in their letter to Matt, they described some things that, as part of the contract, is not.
Exactly,
it's not typical
yeah.
for, but if it was required, they have the capability and the staff to do this, it's just not a part of the contract as it exists now.
So are these issues that are gonna be coming to the fore when the farmer's market moves to Green Street and are gonna have to be dealt with by someone else? Or is this something that you would make a decision later if you need to contract with them again?
Well, with the way that DEP funding works, it has to go through certain channels because of state requirements. And part of the requirements for this contract is to fulfill those, so that's the construction documents to help with the bidding and also administrative duties once the
Right.
bidding's gone through. And that meets the requirements through the DEP funding. If anything else required, that would be separate from the funding that we currently have for this project. So that would require an addendum or a separate agreement.
Okay. One of them was an environmental study, I think, that wasn't gonna be their responsibility, was it?
So yes, we already have, the council had already approved an agreement with KAS, and they are doing the environmental studies and
So it's
requirements
already,
for the grant.
some of those things are already underway.
Exactly.
Well, thank you.
Another item you may want to have a little bit more discussion on is our annual renewal for the nuisance animal control officer, item C.
More
Well, I had if I can, just before that, street solicitation, that there's a mistake, I think, on here, US Avenue and Elizabeth Street do not connect. So it is corrected?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just using my old one.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I always give you the most
Okay,
up-to-date
well,
copy.
but my notes are not those. So, that's fine, let's go to the animal control.
Okay, so this was the.
I didn't have any.
Right, so this is the hours and this is the.
Do you want to
amount
give
of
us a little bit of a synopsis on how, from your perspective, it's been going, Chief?
491,
The animal control officer?
And it matches? So, sorry.
During the early part of last year, we ran into a situation where the current nuisance wildlife control operator, the contract was expiring. There were some concerns made by the council on the timeliness and just production of reports from the nuisance wildlife control operator to the council. And just a general question of the services being provided to the city. So we went through a process to explore options for that person. We arrived to the current nuisance wildlife control operator who, by all accounts, has been doing a very good job of offering those services to the city residents.
So there was an RFP, and we went through an extensive process to look for somebody to replace Mr. Burgess, who was no longer interested, and.
And, you know, a more centrally located person to the city.
And I've heard some very good things about him, and so that's how we arrived at using Mr. Phillips.
So, you know, there are no changes to the contract other than the years in play, so.
Right, and I looked at the contract, there's no change from
What would be
last
the
year.
frequency of reports that he would be giving
Monthly.
to you? Monthly?
Because that's the state requirement for their services.
Okay.
So it just coincides with that. Any other questions?
If you'd stay there for a second, I have a question on 4 and 5.
Certainly.
Could you explain proactive policing?
This is, generally speaking, a more modern patrol tactics. Kind of getting into the very basic instruction that is given in a police academy. Over the course, there not being really an updated, a modern way of how to conduct police business. So what this does is it,
Didn't we approve this last council?
for a different officer.
Okay.
So there was more interest and that's why more, but the same one that you did approve,
All
correct?
right.
It's just based on initiatives that have come about through a very large review over policing the last 5 years, last 10 years, and how to modernize it in a way that reduces liabilities, complies with federal and state law, things like that.
But let me tell you what it popped up in my head, just being from, living in DC and Baltimore.
I think I know what you mean by the
Proactive
connotation.
policing is stop, search, and frisk, and it's broken windows and picking up anybody who throws a cigarette on the ground, and, we're gonna start really going after a certain area, in that way. That's what I was wondering, and they do throw those terms out when I looked at the information about the training, about starting with the proactive, broken windows, practice, and those kinds of things. But then I'm just not sure, I would not wanna see that, us moving to that approach in Plattsburgh. I think it's had, some real bad experiences in a lot of other cities.
Certainly. That's not fundamentally what our department does.
Okay.
That certainly would not be my preference
Okay.
either.
And I have confidence in what you say.
No, no,
so
absolutely.
no,
I would say that in what the officers that express interest in this and what parts of this that are offered in instruction is, it's furthering instruction in how to do their jobs more efficiently and in accordance with federal and state laws. More than what they would receive in a basic police academy, which is the bare minimum.
Now, will one of these, you've approved one and there's 2 more going, will one of them, is one of them a training officer in your division?
So
or is
so this isn't
So they
a
could
typical.
share some of that?
That is the idea behind it, to send a few officers that they can distribute this information that they learn to the peers, yes.
So everyone else can learn through osmosis. Oh, Chief, there's 2 here. Why is one like about $250 more expensive than the other one?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
To me, the term proactive, and I think the chief has heard this story a number of times from me, is I was pulled over once by a city police officers probably 5 or 10 years ago. And it was just at dusk, the sun was just starting to set, and he pulled me over and he said, "Your headlights aren't on." And he reached in and turned my headlights on and said, "Have a good day." And sent a message, it was educational, and I really take pride on the city police having that sensitivity for knowing the difference between the people who are trying to be good citizens and helping them be good citizens, and the people that are truly the troublemakers and obviously need a different level of intervention. I think our city police, we should be very proud that they often find that that fine line very well.
Yeah. And there are things in there that I thought, the hotspot identification and, you know, using ComStat kinds of information to, you know, identify where a patrol goes. I think those are great things.
Yeah, I don't see us forming a new strategy based on those kind of different methods.
Yeah.
Jeff?
Are there other questions? I have, just as an aside, you know, not about, you know, this, I would love at some point to learn more about the asset forfeiture program and
Certainly.
how it's working in the city, and whether you have civil or criminal forfeitures, whether you have forfeitures are according to the way New York State operates, or whether you partner with the federal government and have forfeitures with those, and, you know, and how the forfeiture dollars are, how your thinking is about how those forfeiture dollars are being used beyond just the training. So,
Maybe you could
at
do
some-
a
at some point
briefing
in the
at your
future,
next
you know.
public safety,
Yeah, that would be
meeting
great. Yeah, I'd really love to learn more about that.
Second that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're looking for me for approval. Sounds good. And I would also encourage both you and Paul to, we did this, Jeff and I did this last year. We did facilities tours, and we went to see the police department, the fire department, and code enforcement, and we went to the water plant. And we did all of that, and I would encourage you both to do that, because that is exceptionally helpful. And you can have a better view of how things are run. It was really helpful to me, so.
Be more than happy to.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, chief.
So let's suspend the work session and allow you to now have your 5 o'clock committee meeting, and we'll come back to that.
Okay, well, we'll call the committee meeting, or governance and city operations to order.
So you'd be working with this agenda here.
And we've got several agenda items brought forward from the departments, and we've just discussed, I think, all of them. Oh, this is just a roll call
No, I
on
have to
this?
do a roll call first.
She's right up here, so.
Counselor Barbell,
Yes.
Counselor DeDominicis,
Here.
Mayor Reed,
Okay, I'll get it.
Counselor Kelly,
Here.
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor McFarland,
Yeah.
Counselor Moore.
Yes.
And just for the new counselors, we try to feed as many agenda items through proper committees as appropriate. So this is another chance to look at the official agenda and move things from a committee to the official agenda
Mhm.
for tonight, as well as having extended discussion with any of your department heads, et cetera.
Well, as part of that, we've had discussion on all these 5 items that are on this agenda. And I would move that, I don't know if the chair, you're supposed to move it or not, but I would move that we move those 5 items to the full agenda, council agenda for action.
Yes, second, agreed.
Well, it'll be only seconded by the official committee members to be Council Gibbs or I, then we second
Oh.
it, just so
No,
we're
it's
just.
council gentlemen.
Pardon me, I'm sorry, yeah.
But we missed the reports from department heads.
Well, how about if we just pass this and then get back to the reports?
Okay.
Counselor Barbell,
Yes?
Counselor DeDominicis,
Yes.
Mayor Reed,
Yes.
Good reports from the department heads.
So now you can ask for any reports from the department heads that serve your committee, and for this committee, it would be the clerk's office, which is relatively routine, not often a report that's necessary, although she's certainly invited to come and give any reports. And do you want to just come and introduce yourself, Sylvia? How about that to the new council?
I don't see that as an agenda. The reports from the department.
So for all of you who don't know me, Sylvia Parrott, Plattsburgh City Clerk. Well, so basically, my monthly report is something I submit. It's just the monies that we take in, how those monies get to the city chamberlain, and what I owe the state. So we take in marriage licenses, a portion of it goes to the city, a portion of it goes to the state. Dog licenses, a portion of it goes to the city, a portion of it goes to the state.
Thank you.
Alrighty?
One thing she's doing actually right now too is that the clerk for the town of Plattsburgh is currently in transition, and she's helping to educate and bring that individual up to speed as a service we try to offer. I think that a lot of municipalities accept leadership from the city in how to do things, and we really appreciate you helping them out.
Didn't know you were doing that. That's
Oh, yeah.
fantastic.
Yep.
Thank you.
So Matt's not here, and Ethan, do you have anything to report on?
Want to just summarize a little bit, maybe not quite as much as you did in the pre-meeting, but
I'm Ethan with the Community Development Office. Matt is not here, so our office works on a bunch of stuff that's pretty relevant. We have the Durkee Street project that's currently going through the board reviews now. It's going to be going to the zoning board and planning board this month as well. Some more public engagement, more review of the project. GIS process is going through. We have comments that were received on the 23rd. Those are sent to our contractor Chazen Companies, who's reviewing and going to answer or do anything that's appropriate based on the comments received and compile that into the final GIS. Hopefully that's done as soon as possible and we can move forward with that seeker process.
Ethan, will the comments be forwarded to us, or will that be just incorporated into the DGEIS?
They were incorporated into the DGIS or the final. If it's appropriate, I would have to determine to send to the counselors. We could send it to counselors. I'll work through Beth's office for that. MLD demo is moving pretty rapidly. One building is completely done, another building's pretty close to there. Hopefully that's going to be done before April of this year, and they're got really great weather for that to be accomplished. We have a lot of the parking projects moving forward. As we know, we have the county city lot that was completed. So that's the new 69 available spaces that are publicly accessible for uses other than just the county. So once the GIS process is complete, we'll be able to move forward with the Broad Street lot expansion and also the demolition and construction of the Arnie Pavone lot. So that'll be exciting. Hopefully that'll be done sometime early, like June, but it depends on the GIS process. And we have to go out to bid. We do have, for the demo for the Arnie Pavone lot, we do have a contractor already approved. So that'll begin work as soon as possible. The DGP, we have that. There's various properties out for bid right now. They got responses. The question is, the property owners are now working through those, determining how that applies to their budget and what they're able to do. We have one project that's already under construction, and hopefully by the end of this month, the apartment is ready to be inhabited. He already has a lease signed up for it, so that's exciting news. So that project's moving forward, and so that's for that whole project. Hopefully most of the awardees will be done sometime by the end of by the winter time. Streetscape and riverfront improvements, construction documents for the proposed arts park, that will be completed. And that process, once the GIS is complete, is done as well, that hopefully construction begins early spring and then completed sometime before the fall. We have, working with John Ruff and the Water Resource Recovery Facility, they're doing the architectural, odor, and sound mitigation. John had a public workshop a couple of weeks before the council stopped meeting. I know you were there for a brief part. So he's going to have more public engagement opportunities, and so our office is working closely with them. We received grant funding for a Harborside master plan for that whole area, including the connections too, so that will wrap up things such as the improvements to the plant, the relocation of the farmer's market, the developable brownfield site, how that ties into with the marina, the SRT Phase 3. So a lot will be happening there. That we just received funding, so that will be a couple months, hopefully sometime in the summer. The state will send us the contract language, and that process will be going. Sometime next week, we'll be issuing out the RFP for the zoning comprehensive plan update, and so hopefully that's the process that will get going underway pretty soon. The marketing signage project, we got draft signage recommendations for the downtown branding and marketing, as well as general design guidelines that we're working with through our office and polishing up a little bit before they get sent to other departments and other boards, such as the zoning and planning board, who would be using that more specifically on approving projects or having comments.
historic signs?
Historic signs. So we have a series of historic signs that, with the help of DPW, that we'll be implementing as soon as possible. And that will help go into the downtown branding because our downtown and our city is very historic, and that's really what the public has said, and a lot of board member groups' engagement, and also through the public engagement through the Saratoga Associates with the streetscape. It's that history has kept appearing. So that'll help complement that, and it'll just be something that we can incorporate walking tours, yada, 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 into. Window replacements, that'll be more of Milena, who's the city planner, but that'll be underway. I don't know, she'll be able to explain more of that at some future meeting when that comes to be more pressing. We have some funding for a greenhouse gas inventory for the city operations. So waiting for contract language from the state that was just awarded through the CFA process. So that'll be greenhouse gas inventory of the various buildings and an action plan of how to potentially reduce that to reduce the city's burden, as well as a fleet inventory and an action plan for the fleets.
That's good.
We have stuff going on, and as it'll keep going forward, so I'm sure there'll be much more information,
Yeah.
so.
And you saw on the agenda the approval for the engineering to upgrade the farmer's
Oh,
market.
of course.
But
Yeah.
there's also that connection to make sure you have road access to the other large parking lots. We've already discussed DPW's assisting your office in creating that, probably 100-foot section of asphalt.
Yeah, we're working with the other city departments, try to facilitate that area as best as possible. Currently, what's most likely gonna happen is more of a, a temporary component, and as the master plan can incorporate a much more permanent, structured access. But until we know exactly how everything's gonna work out down at the harbor side, it's tough to make a large scale commitment for a street that we might have to, or a connection that we might have to tear up.
Does it perhaps involve like a pedestrian bridge over the railroad?
We have been in talks with the railroad company. That's a process that will take, that's not short term, that's more medium term. So that's something that we want to move forward, and that's gonna be something that's wrapped into that master plan as well, and that'll be looking at all the connections. So through that private parking lot, potentially over the railroad station, as well as the intersection of Green Street, and proposing improvements for that as well.
Including signage that directs people
Yeah.
more down. to
Yep.
that area.
And then signage to help, and wayfinding components, which is part of the branding, marketing project. So that's something Board Banner Group will be working on, and that wayfinding component is something that will be, they're doing some designs and layout of how that will function for the downtown as we speak. As well as an online interactive website, map that someone can go to, and if they, with various tabs, let's say you want to go recreation trails, you want to go historical sites, stuff like that will be incorporated. So if you're a visitor from Canada or anywhere in the county, or if you live here, or you're out of state, regardless, there'll be a nice, convenient, interactive website that you could use to help get around and make the downtown more accessible.
That's great.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
thank you.
So the governance strategy
Thank you.
committee is designed to be very forward-looking, and obviously works well with the finance committee, who does 5 and 10-year planning for the finances. But we ask your group to do 5 and 10-year planning for where we want the city to go as well. So as a lot of the other DRI aspects, like Durkee Street, et cetera, now that process has really begun. Now you kind of have to start thinking the next stage, which I think most of the councils all the councils are very excited about doing more at the harbor side, making the farmer's market more of a central feature of the main attraction of the harbor side. I'm sure your committee's gonna play a very big role in the strategic planning, and the grant that we've just received to do the master plan. That will all be coordinated
Right.
through your committee as well.
Another thing is the SRT phase 2
As well, that's an important thing that will hopefully be going on this summer. So that and a beach feasibility study to complete that. So.
2 more things.
Anything else that you?
I'm sure something will happen, but we're good.
Just jump up whenever you think it is.
I don't think anyone's here from recreation. So,
Can anyone speak to update recreation for us?
okay, how about, you talk about information dissemination, and I don't know who, and where that fits in here, the website and information dissemination and media?
You're on that committee too, aren't you?
I'm Ethan, I'm working, no.
Sorry.
So I'm working with Beth and Sylvia, and we're working with also to figure out what the website needs, what kind of information we want to provide. Ideally, after some discussions and some different examples that we saw, so a front page where we can, if the most requested items, whether from a different department, is easily found. So let's say if someone keeps calling MLD for their bills or something along those lines, it's easy to find, less clicks, reduce some of the information, like reduce the, not the amount of information, but the improve the accessibility of the website. So we're working through that currently. Looking at how the website's currently used, reached out to the departments for anything that they would like to make comments on or what they would request for their pages, their respective pages, and then working with the county, who would most likely host the website, which would also have cost savings for the city as well.
Is that discrete from what Warrior Banner Group is doing with what you were talking about?
Yes,
the
that would
recreation?
be a little more separate. Obviously, if,
Sorry. Are you working is that an internal
yes,
committee?
that's an internal. Yeah.
Along I don't know if this pertains to that committee or not, but with the moves to kind of move to have bill paying done electronically, do you have any idea what the numbers are now that are coming in terms of how many people are signing up to do the electronic bill paying?
Last I heard, I think it was around 60 or 80 people that signed up for that.
That's it? Whoa.
Last night there was 192 signed up for auto pay.
Oh, good.
Okay, good. Does that fit into this, when you're talking about media and, dissemination of information? Would it be that committee, if you were gonna try to figure out how do we kind of push some more information out to the public about the benefits of signing up for electronic pay in the city? This is a major change, I think. And,
No, yeah, I
should
think
be a-
that's definitely appropriate.
It would be something
Yeah.
that would be a conversation that
Yep.
would take place with that committee? Okay.
As,
Thank you.
as Ethan knows, and we want to rearrange the look of the website, so those
No.
things that are really topical are right out there. But if you scroll down to the bottom, it's not long, but it doesn't fit onto your whole screen. So
Yeah.
you have to scroll down a little bit, and you'll see the three most cogent topics that, for instance, one that we get an awful lot of questions about is, has there been any public process for the DRI? And you've got a list of 100 different touch points of when the public has been consulted on various DRI aspects. And another is the bill pay. I can't recall what the third item is. but
Link to the GIS.
the GIS, which is very interesting
Right.
for the public.
And that's something, with the current website, that we can change at any time with the proper information. Don't know exactly how that would work with the new layout,
Right.
but that's something that we can address.
I remember with the livable communities, conversations and presentations that were made, there was a lot of conversation about the website and the need to for visitors that are coming to Plattsburgh to be able to find out, well, here's, what would you do if you were visiting next month in Plattsburgh and what's going on in Plattsburgh? So, is that I don't know where that fits, in terms of, and I don't know, Jeff, if you have any sense of where that goes.
Yeah, well, hopefully we're gonna update that a little bit and have a few more links so that people, because there's a lot of times when there's events, they're not really listed there, so if you happen to be in town or whatever and wanted to look it up, some of the things that we could put on there would be very helpful to advertise ourselves. I guess somebody had mentioned that about the museums a few meetings ago, maybe those could be listed in there more prominently.
But that would be another reworking of
Yeah,
the city's webpage, so that it'd be for, if you're visiting Plattsburgh, you could go to this thing and figure out what's going on, what restaurants are there, that type of thing.
Well,
I think you've got a couple more committee members for your website committee here. So that's exactly the kinds of discussion
Yay.
we'd like to have. And it's just the right time to. And when did the county expect that they could transition and do that shared service? Wasn't April was the time frame that you were looking at, something like that?
Well, we were looking at the summer because start some things, but June, I think, was
Yeah, I
our
think-
date when we're gonna, our SPID plus would expire.
June, okay.
Thanks again, Amy.
No problem.
Is there any, where is it on here? I've got the wrong paper in front of me, but any old business to follow up with? None? How about new business?
Nothing for me.
Then I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Council Barbell?
Yes.
Council DeDomenico?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes. So we have 10 minutes left before our council meeting tonight. We can continue on with the work session, or if not, we can have a brief recess. Anything else you'd like to discuss in work session tonight?
I think we hit all the
Pretty
high
much.
points,
Sure. Each week, the council is provided with a series of routine reports as listed, and we then go and ask each individual committee chair for any additional reports they'd like to offer, beginning with governance strategy and city operations. Councilor Barbell? And here you just kind of update, well, we just had a committee meeting.
I don't know what you're asking me, so you'll have to.
Do you want to just summarize to the public the outcome of your committee meeting?
Oh, this committee meeting.
The governance.
As a summary, boy, I don't think I could capture at all what Ethan said, you know, but, you know, we've actually, let me get the agenda in front of me. We've had a conversation about the Community Development Office contracting with the architectural and engineering design firm to help move the farmer's market to the Green Street location. We've discussed street solicitation resolution, how to handle street solicitations over the next year. In addition, we approved 3 requests from Chief Ritter for individuals to attend a special training for patrol officers in the city of Plattsburgh.
We didn't approve it, approved to put it forth.
Approved to put it on, sorry. We moved it to the full council agenda. And that was the substance that was discussed here.
Thank you. Finance and budget, Councilor Campbell?
You missed infrastructure.
Oh, did I? City infrastructure, Councilor Moore.
I didn't have any specific updates. Just wondering how the salt was holding out.
Good question.
Had some rotten weather for using up salt.
We're gonna be ordering some salt.
I was kind of afraid of that. I know our winters have changed so much lately. It's, you know, it's freeze thaw, and ice on the roads, and that's really changed the dynamic of how much, you know, material we use to put on the roads. But, that's all I had for now.
Finance and budget, Councilor Kelly?
Our meeting will be held mid-month, and a couple things I'd like to see as objectives are, one, to bring our 2 new counselors into the fold and understand our financial operations completely. Some of the most important decisions you'll make during the year are financial, budget related. And the second thing is to make sure that our 5-year plan reflects the 2020 budget, and that the numbers line up so that we can see first what we proposed in the 5-year plan as of June of last year, and then what actually transpired, and then where we stand going into 2020 in terms of our finances, and possibly we may be real close to year-end numbers by then, so maybe have a preview of those 2.
Perfect, yep. Thank you. Public safety, Councilor Gibbs?
I don't have any updates right now.
Public Library Council, a little bit early, Councilor Beal.
Literally nothing yet.
And MLD Board President, Councilor McFarland.
Oh, a few things, yeah, as Ethan pointed out in his State of the City speech, we have, there's been progress on the demolition. You can go down there to, on the Green Street. I was reading in the paper, that, well, as stated in the paper, Bitcoin mining operations have dropped about 70% this winter. So that along with the right array should give a lot of our ratepayers some peace of mind, I guess, for this winter, knowing that we won't be going over the quota. Other than that, we do have a meeting coming up, I believe, on the 30th of this month. So we'll give more updates then.
Thank you. Any other items you'd like to consider in work session?
Well, I actually would like a copy of both of these pay schedules that we signed tonight, and I was wondering if I could get a copy of this between now and next week. Thank you.
No, next week's fine.
Next week's fine, yeah, it doesn't have to be now. I saw this and I thought this was really good information, so I'd like a copy of it.
I'll take one too. I don't know what we're talking about, but. She
Well, it's
thinks
because you
it's a
didn't
word.
sign it,
No, I won't
counselor. The pay raises and salaries.
If there's no other items, we'd like to take a 2 or 3 minute recess. We'll begin at 5:30.
Wait, let me see it now. Still not gonna sign it.
So, recreation and community development, department head,
No idea.
this committee,
Yeah, the clerk, back again,
that's not gonna
and Dean, our legal counsel.
My reports are being executive, so I won't.
So far, so good, okay.
Give everyone a break.
You just go drink in the bathroom.
Yeah, totally. Like, what did I get myself into?
question, so far at some point, I don't know who, what.
I just asked.
Protecting computer data for the city from ransomware attack, and do we?
His committee too. IT wasn't a separate department, with a separate, it's an organization.
Reading this over.
It used to be run out of the police department, so it never had a department head before. But if there were one, but certainly among the
Just goes right back in here.
I would
It's all signed.
love to kind of find out what logistically
Did you
it
have a nice
would
holiday?
take
Yeah, it was very relaxing.
our system.
Should've a good time.
I think
On Christmas, she actually got sick of the present.
do it for the
But then, like, cause she got so, but then, you know, when we're meeting up with other family members, I couldn't make it.
So the question is very excited for middle school. If somebody
Yeah, my son just started high school this year, so this is great. And he was nervous about
She got like
transition.
Anna and Elsa doll.
Which seems to me that would be a tremendous operation in the city.
Yeah.
And to find out what would it cost. Sixth graders, third grade teachers all the way through connect to existing
Okay, well, this
information.
transition didn't
My parents said it was little piano.
we could call that one
It's adorable.
Front door, count the papers.
Not with that skill, but like just
It would be just a matter of,
And I got his report.
everybody
And
got
back then,
a
we couldn't access the school to like, you can now. So you just wait for the.
my wife and her son in the theater.
Oh, my.
really timely discussion.
My stack of like.
We have an subcommittee with Christmas magic.
Yeah, my wife was
Kelly actually
Yes.
chairs it.
I'm sure I'll see you
That's it.
40,000 times.
So with, it's easy, he's just.
Then,
He'll tell me
when I took her to daycare this morning, Anna had to go to daycare.
need a lot of signage, so much.
She got a frozen drum set.
External hard drives are so cheap.
She has a lot of music on it.
I don't know if you can answer that. I just said, Paul, I've been doing this for a year, but still have
Take care
questions.
of that and have more inquiries, like a call.
I've been doing this for many, many years.
So, I went through, that's pretty easy. Then I look, okay, standby and shift. Holiday personal, cumulative those lines.
So let's begin the council meeting tonight. We begin each council meeting with a pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Reed,
Present.
Council Barbell,
Here.
Council Kelly,
Here.
Council Gibbs,
Here.
Council DeDominicis,
Here.
Council McFarland,
Present.
Council Moore,
Here.
I'm very excited. It's a new council. It's a new year. It's a new decade, and I think there's going to be a lot of really new and interesting things happening with the city of Plattsburgh. And I really sense we've got a very proactive and engaged council, and obviously asking lots of questions, doing a lot of work already from the very get-go, and I'm very excited for what we're going to do together. So let's have fun. Continue, please.
resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Common Council held on December 19th, 2019 are approved and placed on file on the public records of the city clerk's office.
Moved by Councilor Gibbs and second by Councilor DeDominicis. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Resolved that the payrolls for the various departments of the city of Plattsburgh for the weeks ending December 25th, 2019 in the amount of $70,741.66 and January 1st, 2020 in the amount of $491,760.92 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby empowered and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councilor Kelly, second by Councilor Gibbs. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Already done our committee reports during work session. Are there any additional reports the council would like to offer at this time? Seeing none, resolve the reports as listed are hereby ordered received, and any written reports are placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office. Moved by Councilor Gibbs and second by Councilor Barbello. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. There's no correspondences or recommendations from boards at this time. We can continue.
Resolved that the bills ordered by the Common Council for the weeks ending December 27th, 2019 in the amount of $1,662,730.22 and January 3rd, 2020 in the amount of $247,029.83 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby authorized and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councilor Kelly, second by Councilor Gibbs. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. This now is an opportunity for the members of the public to please come and address the council on any issues of mutual concern that are on the agenda. There will be another public comment period at the end of the meeting for any issue, and we do ask, according to our organizational rules, that anybody who wishes to speak, please come and sign up, and please come forward. And Ethan's a troublemaker. He's getting a real reputation. Ethan, do you just want to come sit here, maybe?
Most of you know me, there's a couple of new ones. My name is Julie Bond. I'm the manager of the Plattsburgh Farmers and Crafters Market. Normally I wing this, but tonight I decided to try to sound organized instead. So I'm going to read this, and of course when you read something it sounds monotone, so I apologize. I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you for keeping the Plattsburgh Farmers and Crafters Market part of the downtown area. A lot of people keep saying that we are settling, and I've even said we're doing what we have to do to keep the market running. But the fact of the matter is, maybe we could have relocated, who knows? Maybe we could have found another building. Who knows? We chose not to because the truth is we want to stay part of the downtown area. I know Harborside has a lot to offer, and the potential is definitely there if people would accept change and keep an open mind. I truly feel that it will be a very big benefit, not just for the tourism, but for the city of Plattsburgh itself. Growth is important to keep a town or a city on the map. Harborside is ripe for development, and we want to be smack in the middle of it. So thank you from myself and the Plattsburgh Farmers and Crafters Market. And I hope to be able to be a part of the master plan committee or at least help out some. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other individuals like to please come and address the council? Seeing none, let's continue.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves that the mayor is authorized to sign a professional services agreement between the city of Plattsburgh and Architectural and Engineering Design Associates, P.C. in the amount of $26,400 to include architectural, engineering, design, and project management services related to the relocation of the Plattsburgh Farmers and Crafters Market to the former Plattsburgh Municipal Lighting Department complex on Green Street.
Moved by Councilor Barbell, second by Councilor Kelly. Discussion. Roll call?
Councilor Barbell?
Yes.
Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilor Gibbs?
Yes.
Councilor DeDominicis?
Yes.
Councilor McFarland?
Yes.
Councilor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in
Beth,
accordance.
I'd like to waive a reading and move to resolution on item number 7B.
Moved by Councilor McFarland, second by Councilor Gibbs. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion of the item itself. Seeing none, roll call?
Councilor Barbell?
Yes.
Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilor Gibbs?
Yes.
Councilor DeDominicis?
Yes.
Councilor McFarland?
No.
Councilor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves the mayor to sign a contract with Mr. Noah Phillips for nuisance animal control effective January 1st, 2020, and expiring on December 31st, 2020, for a lump sum price of $25,000 paid in monthly installments. Mr. Phillips meets all of the criteria set forth by the council and has produced all the documentation required for insurance coverage per the contract.
Moved by Councilor Gibbs, second by Councilor Moore. Discussion.
The chief said, by all accounts, seems to be doing pretty good. And I know that's a very big issue, because I know we've gotten letters regarding the skunk and how the urine might affect dogs. And certainly it's been a problem in the city for a while, so I wish them best of luck.
And you know, it's not just the animal control officer taking care of various animals. The police themselves actually do a lot of the dog enforcement, whereas in other municipalities, often the animal control officer are primarily working with dogs. Here it's more specialized. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Councilor Barbell?
Yes.
Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilor Gibbs?
Yes.
Councilor DeDominicis?
Yes.
Councilor McFarland?
Yes.
Councilor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in
Beth, I'd
accordance.
like to waive a reading on both items and item number 8, and move to resolution.
That's item 8A and B. Moved by Councilor McFarland, second by Councilor Gibbs. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. And discussion, and the chief in your work session explained the nature of these travel requests. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call?
Councilor Barbell?
Yes.
Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilor Gibbs?
Yes.
Councilor DeDominicis?
Yes.
Councilor McFarland?
Yes.
Councilor Moore?
Yes.
And are there any resolutions for initial consideration? For the new counselors, as we talked about a little bit during the committee structure, any new resolutions are either fed through committee and then deliberated on, discussed again in work session, and then moved to the final agenda, which all these various items have been moved through committee. If there's something that comes up relatively suddenly and you can't go through that regular process, you can introduce it if it's got financial implications. We prefer you introduce it as an item for initial consideration. If it's immediate, we can't have further discussion. We invoke something called Rule 4. It's explained in the organizational rules to treat urgent items, but we do require us to have a sufficient deliberation, any financial repercussions, as you are the stewards of the finances. So just to understand that there's not that many items that come up for initial consideration, because they usually and appropriately go through committee. Any new business or council reports?
I have one, I talked about the parking lot changes over at the county government center, and the need to redo the lines on the road, and I understand that that's not gonna happen immediately because of the weather. Although one of the exits, actually the main exit, from kinda exits right onto where Marion terminates, and it might be helpful to put a sign there that says one way, do not enter. Marion's one way the other way. And if you're diligent and you look around, you can definitely see that there's a one-way sign pointing the other way. But if you're not looking very well as you exit, I haven't seen this be a problem yet, but I could see someone not realizing that Marion's a one-way the other way and go straight onto it.
Okay. Cool, yeah.
Any other new business or additional council reports? Seeing none, are there any closing public comments from any issue of mutual concern? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councilor Gibbs, second by Councilor McFarland. Roll call.
Councilor Barbell?
Yes.
Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilor Gibbs?
Yes.
Councilor DeDominicis?
Yes.
Councilor McFarland?
Yes.
Councilor Moore?
Yes.
Thank you all for a great meeting.
That was fun.
Thanks.
Hey, Jeff. You going out?
Yeah, very much.
Go for drinks, Paul, you wanna come? Oh, there's no next time for me. This will be my one time. I usually come home to my son. Yep.
They were excited to hear what happened.
Oh, here. I'm ready to meet. No, don't make me check.
Sure. Counselor?